Hi, this is Eternal King here bringing you another LOR video today. So I was curious about what the next best deck would be out of the last expansion, right? So I had talked about, the best tempo deck was Azir Aurelia with Emperor's Army. The best anti-tempo deck was Rise with Steel Gale. Both of those decks have gone on to be very successful thanks to my initial creative input. The final one that I think is a real sleeper is Luckycad's, I'm going to call it Eternal Heart. So again, I'm not the kind of person that steals decks, so I will say that Luckycad thought of the original standard version of this list, but I did adopt it to be Eternal viable. Now, if I wanted to, I could call this my own deck because I did rotate out 10 cards or more, but I'm going to still give proper lip service to the creator because that is the right thing to do. It was originally his idea to run Heart of the Tree in a Ionia ramp shell, right? Ionia Freljord ramp shell with Volibear and Mina Swiftfoot and a lot of these staple cards and Trundle, and I just had to make some swaps for the Eternal format. So if you look, we can go through some of the swaps. He was on 2 Avalanches. I'm on 2 Avalanches. I'm pretty sure he was on 3 Faces of the old one. If not, he should have been in the Eternal format specifically. So I'm on 3 Faces of the old one. 1 Blighted Ravine. It is a nice addition, nice to have in a ramp control shell like this. As a one of, right? Increasingly, I've fallen less. It used to be that you would just like auto run Blighted Ravine as a 3 of in every Freljord ramp shell. I've kind of fallen off that a little bit. I do think that the 2 Avalanche, 1 Blighted is a nice compromise. You can cast the spell up front, or you can, get the heal and just have it ping everything later. So it's a good card. Winter's Touch, staple ramp card, 4 mana, and then obviously you can cycle it later. Catalyst of Aeons. This is a very heavy ramp shell. If you look at the curve of this ramp shell, we have 16 cards, 19 cards. Like over half our deck is massive. So we run a very comprehensive ramp package with Winter's Touch, Catalyst of Aeons, and Wild Mysticism. So you run all 9 of your staple ramp cards in this shell, guaranteed, plus Faces of the old one. Trundle on 5. Trundle is a pretty core stabilization card for ramp. You just slap it down on 5. You just have to do it. Obviously, the special spice that Luckycad introduced was Heart of the Tree. It is a story card. You know how I feel about story cards, and it is one of the least played story cards. So you know that I was going to be drawn to that because I was a big fan of story cards when they were initially released. And so in this ramp shell, it does a lot of work. You can summon the 2/2 and get a heal off for 3 on your Nexus. It's pretty good. You buff your entire deck by 1/1. So if you don't know, that's pretty good. It's almost like a Freljord style effect. And then 3, you manifest an 8 cost card and then reduce its cost to 4. And if you don't know, that includes spells. So sometimes you can get like a 4 mana Ruination, or you can get like a 4 mana Reckoning, or you can get a 4 mana pretty much anything. So it can either be a creature or a spell. So it just turns out that that's much better than I thought it was. So obviously, in slower games, you can get Heart of the Tree ticking along, and it's okay. You're creating a chumper and you're healing. You're creating a chumper and you're ramping. You're healing and you're ramping. You're healing and you're AoEing, or you're just AoEing, or you're just ramping, or you're trundling to simply block up the board with regeneration. All these things are just very, very good. So that's like your introductory package to what Eternal Heart does as a deck. Again, half Luckycad, half my inclusions for the format. Hit the Stairs is a 3 of, mandatory Freljord card and a ramp shell. Bird Nice is a 3 of, so obviously Luckycad didn't have access to this card. It's a staple card that you run most of the time in Freljord as a 3 of. Mina Swiftfoot, I agree with the inclusion in this particular deck. There's a lot of Eddy running around. The triple bounce can be absolutely devastating. It's a very, very good card. Very, very good. Singular Will as a one-off. In case you whiff on the Bird Nice and the Hit the Stairs combo, then you have the Singular Will to sort of be one extra value piece that does something very similar to Bird and Ice. I don't feel like running more singular wills in terms of ratioing is a good call. I think the one of is like really good special spice, and that's what he had as well. So like you talk about the stuff that he had the one singular will, he had the 3 minas, he had the 3 at the stairs, the 3 hearts, 3 wild mysticisms. You know, I might have gone a little more ramp heavy and a little more AoE heavy. Those are like eternal considerations for this format. It's much more competitive and hardcore. Volley Bear is a 3 of, obviously. We're both running that. Volley Bear comes down on 9, pings 3 things, he's pretty good. And if you don't get the Volley Bear, you have the Mina, and they both do similar things. Obviously, in terms of Eternal, She Who Wanders is a 3-up, pretty mandatory card. There's a lot of matchups where She Who Wanders will just auto-win you the game. So, you know, considered too powerful for standard, essentially. But yeah, it is just a case of where you might just mill the entire opponent's deck. So you run the She Who Wanders as a 3-up, and then, of course, Feel the Rush. Staple, ramp, win condition, and Eternal. Don't leave home without it. It just turns out that both Volley Bear and Trundle coming out as 10/10s for a 12 mana spell is very good right now, because you're threatening Volley Bear level up, and you're threatening Overwhelm Trundle for the win, or you're just hard playing the Volley Bear like you would a Mina, or you're playing the 10 mana Volley Bear with the Feel the Rush, then playing the Mina. There's a lot of good play effects, a lot of good spells, a lot of good value, a lot of good healing. This Ramp Shell kind of has everything in terms of what you're trying to do. Very well teched into a large variety of matchups, except like straight up aggro, right? Like if you're dealing with a straight up aggro opponent, honestly, even, again, Azir Aurelia, my other deck would do very well into this probably. But that's the thing, is that right now Eternal is very much a slow format, right? There's a lot of anti-tempo running around. And it just turns out that Ramp is a really good way of capitalizing on opponents that don't do anything. Ramp is the ultimate way to capitalize on opponents that don't do anything. So again, the Singular Will is a hard tech choice. The Volley Bear is a hard tech choice. The Mina, the hard tech choice. The Buried Nice, the It That Stares, right? The hard tech choice is the She Who Wanders, the hard tech choice. All this stuff is basically designed to create a shell that it will inevitably win in the late game into pretty much any deck that isn't doing anything. And it just turns out right now that in terms of Eternal, that's very, very good, because people are scared to run tempo when there's so much anti-tempo. So yeah, this feels strong. I would say that this feels exceptionally strong. You're basically getting, one of the best standard players currently in the game, Luckycad, and then you're getting one of the best Eternal players, who is me, both working together to create a deck that is essentially going to be great regardless of the format. You can use his version for standard, you can use my version for Eternal, and it is running a very, very underplayed card, which is why I included it here. And right now my win rate is 100% with this deck. Small sample size, but yeah, it's basically not losing. But again, a lot of the opponents that I'm facing are not are memeing and casual, right? Like they're not playing like proper LOR. But again, a lot of it is just like people being afraid to play tempo. If people are afraid to play tempo, then Ramp is going to feast most of the time, just like combo feasts. So, Rise is one way to really capitalize off decks that don't do anything. And then the other way to capitalize is to play Ramp into decks that don't do anything. And typically in those situations, you'll just win 100% of the time. Because, Ramp does something with its, essentially it does not burn its mana, right? And if it does pass on mana, that's usually better for the Ramp player than it is for the opponent. So like again, hard, you want to talk about the Allen pass. Before he was like a hardcore creature tempo spam guy, he used to be really into the Allen passes. I did like an Allen pass with this Ramp shell, and it worked out great for me. So because I'm a pretty high level Ramp player as well. I was like one of the original, like, oh yeah, I can play, ASOL to Diamond, easily in like 5 seconds. It was like, I was one of those OG guys that could do that. And yeah, there's a lot of versions of Ramp that are very good in Eternal right now. There is Eddie Ramp. There is Set Ramp. And then we have this new version of Heart of the Tree Ramp, which I like a lot. It is good. Typically, Freljord has a problem of running out of steam and running out of cards, so Heart of the Tree potentially just like RNGing into something stupid with its third stage is actually like unbelievably strong. Now that it's 6 mana, it's another case of like, remember when I talked about Ritual of Rejuvenation in Rise being much better now that it's 4 mana? Well, Heart of the Tree was reduced to 6 mana, so like in a ramp shell, you can almost like justify it now. It's 6 mana. This is Eternal King signing out. Again, just wanted to throw some love at a new deck that I am very confident in, that is unlike anything we've really seen in the format before. Like, yes, it's ramp, and we've seen ramp, but this is, again, one of those story cards that you have not seen played competitively at all. Never mind winning like 100% of games. Yeah, signing out. This is Eternal King.